Hey everybody, Grill Father Johnny Al here, and today I'm going to smoke you a beef eye of round roast that you can't refuse, and my buddy back here is going to help me out. Stay tuned, I'll see you back in just a split.
Grill Father Johnny L, he's a man, charcoal magic, he's got the plan. Flame kiss grills, smoking slow. Grill Father Johnny, the barbecue pro.
Before we get started with the prep, I just wanted to show you where the eye of round roast comes from. And it comes from the back side of the cow here, which is called the round, so hence the eye of round roast. Now here's the star of today's show. This is a 1.75 pound eye of round roast, and you can see that there's a significant amount of myoglobin in there. I'm going to take this out of the package, pat dry it at the sink. We'll come back and trim it up a little bit. I'll see you in just a moment. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is trim off the fat on this as best as I can. And I threw this in the freezer for about, 15 minutes or so, just to harden up the fat that's on here. And it will come off much easier than if you have the meat coming right out of the refrigerator or at room temperature. That fat tends to be a little bit mushy, and the warmer it gets, the more difficult it is to trim off. Some of this fat is embedded in here. I'm not going to worry about digging in and taking it out. Now there's a good bit on the other side here. Hopefully I get underneath there and it'll pull for me rather easily. You can see how it's kind of coming off pretty easily for me. There's some silver skin on here that I'm going to want to take off too. Remember, trimming does not need to be a work of art. And it's really kind of optional too. No one is going to see your trim job. All that matters is the taste and the tenderness and the texture that you get at the end. Try to leverage your angles when you're trimming meat. Kind of makes things easier. You want to take as little of the actual meat off as you can. I'm good with that. Didn't take a whole lot, have to take a whole lot off. It was pretty well trimmed to start with. Now, the binder that I use in my meats is duck fat. And you can use whatever binder you want, but I like to use duck fat. So I'm just going to use my turkey baster here and load up the rendered duck fat. Squirt it on and lather it up. You can use whatever kind of binder that you want. I just like to use duck fat. There's some health benefits for using duck fat, and that's one of the reasons why I like to use it. Now, in terms of the rub that I'm going to use, I don't use salt because we have too much salt in our American diets to begin with. So I don't plan to end up on a salt restricted diet. So I use a combination of Accent, which is MSG, as well as no salt. And then finally, I'll put on some 16 mesh coarse ground black pepper. After that, I don't put a whole lot of the MSG on, the Accent. Just a light dusting. I'll put more of the no salt on. And I got my 16 mesh coarse ground black pepper, which I get from a company, Lane's Barbecue in Georgia. I'll put a link in the description if you want to order some from them. Give this a nice coating, help with the bark. Nice flavor. And when I cook beef, I like to add a little bonus spice to it, and that's rosemary. Rosemary goes pretty good with beef, so just add to that flavor profile. I don't put a whole lot on. I don't want to overpower the flavor profile with it, so just a light sprinkling of it. And really, that's it. All that's left is to let this set overnight. I would put this on a PAM sprayed cooling rack. I like to cook my meats on a cooling rack just for ease of transport in and out of the house, as well as allows that smoke to get underneath here. Also, even though the water pan will be here, it still allows that smoke to roll up underneath. So I'm going to put this in the refrigerator overnight uncovered, and then we will put this on the smoker tomorrow. Now, before I take the meat out from its overnight rest, I just want to cover a couple of things with you. And the first is what I call the 4 T's for successful barbecuing. And they are taste, tenderness, texture, and technique. Technique being the most important of all, because if you don't get the technique correct, which is the process, then taste, tenderness, and texture, one or all 3 of those, is going to be impacted in the final product. What about the T of temperature, you might be asking? And temperature is important, not only from the standpoint of the temperature inside the smoking chamber and outside of the smoking chamber, known as the ambient temperature, but also the internal temperature that we're going to be cooking the meat to. And I don't consider temperature to be one of the 4 T's. I roll it up under the T of technique. What about the T of time, you may be wondering? And I don't worry about time. If I'm going to be baking a lasagna, then I'm worried about time. We're doing something in the oven. But I cook to temperature and not time. You just never know for sure how long something is going to take. It may be a quick cook one day and the same kind of meat, same temperatures outside, and the same weight may take you longer the next time. So the focus is on temperature and not time. The other thing that I want to talk about is how I'm going to manage and monitor today's cook. And what I have here is a cook log. And contained within this 3-ring binder are sheets for all the cooks that I do. We'll take a bird's eye view of today's cook log sheet in just a moment. But the purpose of the cook log is just to help us stay on track throughout the whole cook. And that's the most important thing, is what we're going to be moving into next here, which I call the manage and monitor stage. And we really want to keep our focus on the start time and then the resting times at the end. And then in between there, where we're going to be spritzing and making sure our wood is nice and hot and still burning. So I do this, even though I've been doing smoking meat for 20 years, I still do a cook log, and I really recommend it for those of you who are just starting out in the world of barbecue. So let's take a bird's eye view now of today's cook log sheet. Now here's the cook log. Over here we have the pre-cook categories, then the in-cook categories, which is mainly the manage and monitor stage of the cook. And then at the end, we will record our rest times, what the weather conditions were like for today, and any comments that I can use for the next time around when I do a beef eye of round roast. We're going to be using the Pit Boss smoker today, and I purchased this meat from White Feather Meats, which is the home of the Bearded Butchers. I'm sure you've seen some of their videos. It was frozen when I purchased it. You saw the rub combination that I used, the no salt accent, pepper and rosemary combination with the duck fat binder. I'm using almond pellets in the smoker, as well as post oak mini splits in the smoker box. And then we're going to use a water pan in there as well. I'm looking to cook at 250 degrees and take it to a medium rare internal temperature of 130 degrees. So let's get outside and get rolling. The smoker is up to temperature, so the last thing we need to do before we put the meat on is to get our smoker box fired up. And this is the smoker box here. This is a Diamond King smoker. It's a 6-inch by 12-inch size. It comes in a 6x6 as well. This is a game changer when it comes to pellet grills. This smoke box is going to give you stick burner, offset smoker type quality of smoke. And the way it works is you have this stainless steel smoker box. Inside I have an airflow cage with some fire starters. Then I have some lump charcoal in there. I'm going to fire this up. And we're going to let this lump charcoal ignite. Let it ash over just a little bit. Then we're going to come back and we're going to put our post oak mini split on. So we'll give this just a few minutes. Nice fire is going now. The lump charcoal is ashing over. So let's go ahead and put on our post oak mini split. And I get these at Woodchuck Firewood. Andy is the person that runs that company, and he can get you any kind of wood. I just like to use the post oak. You can see I have a nice mini split here. We'll go ahead and put this on. Let it catch. I'm just going to give it a little jump start with the torch here as well. And I promise you, when this goes into the smoker, you're going to see some beautiful post oak smoke generating. Again, this is a game changer for pellet grills. I highly recommend you spend the $50 to get yourself a smoker box. It does take up a little bit of room, but if you're only smoking one meat at a time, which is what I do, then it's not a big deal. So let's go ahead and let this catch, and then we'll get over to the smoker. I have the roast inside now, and the smoker box over here is giving off some nice post oak smoke. The only thing left I have to do now is to put some hot water in the water pan here to have some moisture in the smoke chamber. We'll tuck it away. And now we move into the manage and monitor phase of the cook, and we'll just be checking in periodically and see how things are going. We're an hour into the cook, and I just replenished the firebox with a few of the wood chunks, the post oak wood chunks. And I'm just going to give this a little spritz over here, help with the moisture. And we will just continue to monitor. We're a little over 100 degrees. Remember, we're taking this to an internal temperature of 130 degrees. We hit the 130 degree mark, actually 131, went a little bit over. So I'm going to take this off, take it inside, let it rest for about 20 minutes, and then we'll get to slicing it up. I'll see you inside. The roast is done resting. Let's go ahead and unpackage the roast from the aluminum foil and see what we got, and we will carve it up. Liking what I see so far. You see some nice juice on there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this on the double bias, and this will increase the surface area on each slice and make the meat taste even more tender. So I'm going to start down at this end, and we'll just glide right through it. Now this took about an hour and a half. It was not a very large roast at all. Remember, it was less than 2 pounds, about a pound, 1.75 pounds. So it didn't take that long. I didn't expect it to take that long. Again, the T of time is not a factor in my mind. And we're getting close to the middle here now, just about there. And we'll see what it looks like in the center. All right, there you go. You can see it's a nice medium rare pink center inside. Nice juices. Has a nice flex to it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to carve this up and do a little taste test on the side. And I'll let you know how things go with that. So I'll be back here in just a moment. I finished carving up the Eye of Round roast, and I did my own taste test off to the side. You know that I don't do taste tests on camera because I can't offer you a bite to eat. So I try to be polite and not eat in front of you and mind my manners. And I was really pleased with the taste, the tenderness, and the texture. You could see that on the video when I did the flex test, that it just flopped over on my fingers. So I think we accomplished what we wanted to in this video by taking the technique and doing it properly and being happy with those other 3 T's. So I want to encourage you to follow the technique that I outlined in today's video, and I think you'll be happy when you go to smoke your own Eye of Round roast. So I am really pleased with the way things turned out, and I am definitely going to give this the Grill Father Johnny L stamp of approval. Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by the channel today. Hope you found this video useful and helpful. Would you do me a favor of hitting the like and subscribe buttons and sharing this video with a family member or friend? Till next time, this is Grill Father Johnny L. Take care, God bless, and smoke on.
Grill Father Johnny L, can't you tell? He's the king of the smoke, the backyard spell. Flippin' twisted, burning well. Grill Father Johnny L.